Hey guys, I want to show you how to save $800 today on fixing your Hayward Rite salt chlorinating generator. I came out here this spring and mine says hot. I've looked all over the internet and there's really no fix for the ones that say hot. The reason that it's hot is that inside your salt cell itself there is a thermistor, and what thermistors do as the temperature goes up, they get more resistive. And so that's the way for the electronics on the main board in here to tell how hot the pool water is. So right now, mine thinks my pool water is about 220 degrees, so it's not generating any salt at all. And it's not 220 degrees, I can guarantee you that. Because water boils at 212, so it's definitely not 220 degrees. So we've got two things. You can either replace the thermistor, which is impossible on these salt cells. I got a T15 cell. It's impossible to replace. You have to replace the whole cell. If you get a name brand cell, they're over 800 bucks. If you get a generic cell, they're about 450 bucks. But today we're going to be sort of bypassing the thermistor altogether, and so we're going to do that with some very inexpensive parts, and I'm going to show those parts to you in just a second. Okay, so here's the parts you're going to need. Show right down here. These are the parts you're going to need. This is a 50K ohm potentiometer. You can get these off of Amazon for $5, maybe $6. You need two wire nuts. You need a razor to help you strip some cable off. You'll need a pair of wire cutters or wire strippers, whichever one you have. And optional is a meter. If you've got a meter, that's great. If you don't have a meter, don't worry about it. And then we'll get into fixing the stuff here in just a second. All right, so first things first is safety. If you don't know what you're doing, or if you're trying to follow along here today, you're following along at your own risk. Electricity is very dangerous. We're going to take all the precautions today to do this job safely, but like I say, if you're not comfortable with working with electricity, do not do this. It's not worth not buying a salt cell. I'd rather buy a salt cell as get electrocuted. So, however, we're going to do this as safely as we can. I've got the power to the whole unit completely off. There is no power going to it. And I'm going to unplug the cable that goes to the salt cell. I'm going to unplug that from the unit itself. So there's no power going through the cable. Okay. Okay, so first things first is make sure you got the cable unplugged. There's no electricity going to it. Strip off about 1.5 inches of the sheathing off of the wire that goes down to the salt cell. You'll see that there's 6 wires in there. There's 2 white ones, there's 2 black ones, and there is a red and a blue wire. The red and the blue wire on this particular model is the ones that we're going to be dealing with today. These are the 2 wires that go to the thermistor itself, and we're going to be using those 2 wires to bypass the thermistor. Actually, we're going to be putting the potentiometer that we bought in line with this, and so get this stripped off and we'll move to the next step. Okay, right here on the wires themselves, I've got the end that's going to the salt generator completely unplugged, and so when I cut these wires, I want to make sure that I have all the slack that leaves me the slack that I can work with the side that's going to the generator itself. So I can cut the short side going to the salt cell. So I'm going to cut the blue wire and the red wire. Make sure that your power is off. Do not do this with the power on. If you are not comfortable with this, do not do this. Do not attempt it. And I'm going to cut that red wire. Their wires are really close together, so make sure when you cut these wires that you're not cutting any other wire except for the red one and the blue one. And you need to make sure with the specific model that you got that the color of the wire. I just know that for this particular model that I have, it happens to be the red and the blue wire, and I've got them both cut loose. And come back for next step. Okay, here's the next step. The next step is to strip off some of this wire because we're going to be tying this on to our potentiometer that we have. So just strip off enough to work with. That's probably 1/4 inch or so. All right, and come back for next step. Okay, so what I've done off the camera is I've taken a couple pieces of wire and I have soldered them to the potentiometer that I have. And let me show you a couple things about the potentiometer. This is a 50K ohm potentiometer. In between the 2 outside lugs is 50K ohms or 50,000 ohms. The center lug is the one that we want to use because it's adjustable. As we turn the knob, the resistance between one of the outside knobs and the center knob grows or shrinks as we turn the knob. So we won't be using the other outside knob, and if you want to, you can go ahead and just snip off that other outside knob. That way you don't have to worry about it. But we want to be using the center knob and one of the outside poles. It doesn't matter which one, because potentiometers, the way that we're using them here today, it doesn't matter which side that you use. You just want to use the center one and one of the outside poles. All right, so what I want to do is, I didn't have any blue wire, but I have black wire. And so I'm going to do red to red and black to blue, and it really doesn't matter that much. But basically, I'm going to put the wires together, and then I'm going to strip a little bit more off because I want to make sure that it makes a good connection. And I've got enough to splice together. Okay. So I'm going to go red to red. And this black wire serves as my blue wire, so I'm going to go black to blue. So basically what I've done here, if you want to, what I've done is I have cut off the thermistor that's on the salt cell itself, and in place of the thermistor I have this potentiometer. So from what I have read, the thermistor needs to read somewhere between 10,000 ohms and 20,000 ohms. Now this particular potentiometer goes between 0 and 50,000 ohms, so somewhere in the middle is about where we want this thing. So we're going to start off in the middle right now, and I'll come back for next step. Okay, so what we're going to do, like I say, this step is optional. If you don't have a meter, I'll show you a way that you can adjust the potentiometer, but I want to just get it pretty close range right now. I'm just going to hook up the meter. This is, of course, out of circuit when I'm reading resistance here, and then go over here to the meter. All right, so the meter is showing 31 kilo ohms. So I want that to be about 13 or 14 k ohms when I get it hooked up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this, and look at the meter, and as I turn this, you can see that the resistance is dropping. All right, so that's pretty close right there. 13, 14K will be okay to start off with. And so if you don't have a meter, don't sweat this. I'll show you how to do it without a meter in just a minute. All right, next step was to put the wire nuts on the end of the splices that we made. These wire nuts are a little bit too big for this particular project, so I'm just going to use them for demonstration right now. I'm going to go get the right size wire nuts and put on there. If you got the smaller ones, that's what you need to start off with here. But I've got the wire nuts on there. I have my potentiometer in place, and I'm just going to hang it right here, and I am going to plug this back into the system. All right, come over here where you can see the cell. All right, so I got it plugged back into the system, and I'm going to turn the power back on, and let's see if it still says hot. And it does not say hot, and I'm showing 1,400 parts per 1,400 parts of salt. Mine needs to be at about 3,200, but at least for right now, I've got the hot taken off of there. If I want to hit next, it thinks my pool is 65 degrees. So let me show you what you can do. If you don't have the meter, when you push the diagnostic button one time, it shows you the temperature of the pool. So right now, the potentiometer is set at about 13 to 14K, and it thinks it's 65 degrees. So if I take the potentiometer and move it up a little bit, now look at the screen as I move the potentiometer. See, now my pool thinks it's 70. So now, I'm going to leave it set on 75 or 76 degrees. Now my Hayward Rite pool system, salt chlorine generator, thinks that my pool is 76 degrees, and once it detects flow, it will start generating, chlorine, and it has done just that. I need to bring my salt back up to 3,200 parts per million, and we're ready to go. Thanks for watching this video.